The secret lies within the duplication. Hey there, welcome to my epic journey. This is Brandon Devere. Thank you, as always, for tuning in and sharing your time with me. I do appreciate that. Here we are on the journey from 600 to 0 to 600 plus and everything that falls in between. Today, I want to talk about some duplication and the reason duplication is important. I have a book I'd like to recommend. I tend to come back to books often. This isn't the first time that I've read it. It won't be the last time that I've read it. And on here for future reference, if I say read, I may have read the book or I listened to it, or both. In this case, it's been both. When I say I read a book recently, it could have been the audiobook. I don't like to decipher back and forth because I'm still consuming the information. But I both read this one and also listened to it. And I was listening to it again yesterday, and it hit. It was one of those things that, you know, most people. There's a lot of people that will reread books, and in our industry, typically a book like Think and Grow Rich will be one that people come back to every once a year, or once every couple of years. But they'll come back and get some new stuff with it. Like if you see my copy of Think and Grow Rich, it would eventually, if I keep reading it, I'm going to highlight and underline the whole thing, because I like to highlight, write, and underline things that I feel are important in the books that I read. So that I know what it's like to go back and get new information, or maybe information that didn't seem important, wasn't hitting you, wasn't resonating with you at the time when you first read it. So this book is called Building an Empire by Brian Carruthers, and Brian Carruthers is in Legal Shield, which is in a network marketing, multi-level marketing space. So this is actually a perfect book for people that are looking to do rev share. I understand that people don't like multi-level marketing, network marketing. They don't like to say that about the real estate industry and what it is. The reality is it functions very similar. I used to be super worried about people saying that, oh, it's a pyramid. Like, no, it's not, blah, 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 whatever. No longer here to fight those battles, because it's one, I don't really care anymore, and two, it very closely resembles an MLM. Like you are getting paid on multiple levels. I don't know how it's any different, but I will say that I don't have stacks of protein powders, boxes of protein powders showing up to my garage each month and just getting taller and taller. But so Brian Carruthers, big Legal Shield guy. And he has a book called Building an Empire, and he talks about certain things. And I've brought him up before when we were talking about sorting versus convincing. Like, I never want to convince anybody. Last week we talked about where I told an agent that I don't know. I don't know if you're a fit for not only are we a fit for you, or are you a fit for us? I'm not sure that we were a fit for him. I talked with somebody else about it today, kind of letting them know that I didn't just want to bring him in with these false promises just to get him in, and then in 3 months. Well, first of all, I don't want to bring anybody in with false promises. Second of all, I don't want to have that conversation over and over again for the entire time that they're with us. So, anyways, back to Building an Empire. He one of the things that I was listening to yesterday, and I've heard this before, and I've heard it a lot, and I've heard a lot of talk about it, but don't see a ton of people doing it. So essentially, it's about duplication. I've heard people say things like, if it doesn't duplicate, it doesn't matter, which makes sense. Like, so for instance, if you have a team or a number of agents that you talk to often, or who cares? Maybe it's even your kids, right? But if you have to answer the same question more than once, then we should be making a video on it, right? So that you know that that's going to be a common question. It's not, because every time you're answering the same question over and over again, if you have a video, especially within your business, of maybe you tell every single buyer that here's the process that we go through. But if you had something, for instance, a video of like, hey, this is what you expect at this point. Yeah, I know they probably have like some type of printout or something that you can give to them, something so they can follow along with the transaction. So it's not it's not a surprise, and two, it's not there. You have to explain again to the same thing that somebody else has asked. But like on the agent standpoint, is that if you have an agent that is like, hey, how do I log into this training software? Like, if you have 100 agents that are going to ask you this question, why don't you make one video and say, hey, here's the help. This is where you're going to learn. With one video, with 3 minutes of your time of putting that video together, you could save, if that it's going to be 3 minutes times 100, you just saved yourself 297 minutes because you're creating that one video. So you've given yourself more time. So that duplicates, right? That is when I do this video, this right here, this video, if somebody finds this video in 5 years and I get X amount of views on it, X amount of hours, minutes, whatever, it will have duplicated that many times that somebody. So I think my highest viewed video is like around 2,100 or something like that. So by me doing it one time, I didn't have to tell that story 2,100 times. I told the story once, 2,100 people were able to see it. So the duplication, where it matters when you're growing your rev share business, wherever it at, if it's at Epique, if it's in another place where you're growing your rev share organization, your downline, whatever you want to call it, is that if you can provide something that agents can use and they can replicate, they can duplicate what you've done, then they have a better chance of success, right? Because if you tell an agent, like right now, one of my biggest stories is that I had a 600 agent downline at a previous brokerage, and that's a big story for me to tell, right? And some of my agents are like, hey, my partner is this guy who left with 600 agents in his downline because he saw the value here. So people have leveraged that for sure. I know these videos have leveraged it for a bunch of other agents because I know how many people have reached out to me that did not join my downline that said they saw my video and said I needed to join, right? So I know the power of it, right? But that story and my story can only be used so far, if that makes sense. Like, how is my story going to help a level 4 recruit necessarily? Yes, they can still say, like, it still prove a point and be like, hey, this guy saw this at this point. Guy is in, maybe not even in, So in my upline or in my downline is like, this guy in my upline, he did this, like, this is who we're partnered with. And he answers his calls. Like, I can get a hold of him. We can do this. That's all great. But I can't duplicate my story yet, right? Like, if I give it to, if I share this with somebody else, in order for my story to duplicate and somebody else to share that as their own story, they're gonna have to do the same thing. They're gonna have to get to 600 agents, right? So not every agent is gonna get to 600 agents, and not every agent wants to get to 600 agents. But if I can give an agent this, hey, here's this step 1 through 10. Here's this, do this. They're going to go to this site that we've created for you. We've done this, this, and this. All this is here. All you have to do is follow the steps, and it's good to go. And it's duplicating, right? It continues to do that. And then what they're going to do is they're going to go take it to people in their downline. So, for instance, like right now, I can't give that to necessarily everyone, but if people are going to identify themselves as people that want to grow within my organization, then I can say, okay, hey, here, this is the plan. This is what we're doing. You want to add an agent a month for the next year, which 12 agents, like, think about this. Like, the other thing that was said in, I actually clipped it on in Audible. And one of the quotes that Brian Carruther had was, he said that does your compensation plan make sense for both the people just starting and the people that want to focus on this to be their primary source of income? I'm paraphrasing that, but essentially what he's saying is that, rev share at Epique right away can be a game changer for you. Like, it really can. Like, you don't have to have hundreds and hundreds of agents in order for it to have an impact on your life. But if you choose to make it the majority of the time that you spend, it can be a major impact and change your life on what you want to do. But the point being is that when I say you can get one a month for the next year, so you're going to get 12. So let's just say I don't like to do anything at full cap. I tend to try to go half cap, but I don't even go lower than that. So I don't do any projections on a full cap. A full cap agent would bring in $1,500 on all 5 levels, right? So I don't like to do any projections on that or any calculations on that. I usually like to do half cap. But since Epique has a declining cap from 15,000 down to 10,000, and team members start at 10,000, I do everything on the half cap of the lowest that you'll be. Outside of power teams, a power team can get down to 5,000. That's not as likely as the other two scenarios, right? So I'll just go drop it down straight to 10,000 as the cap, and you're half capping at $500. So if you were able to get 12 agents in the next year, that would be the difference of, that's not massive recruiting. That's one a month. That's having a conversation, maybe a couple times a week. You get to 12 agents, and you could be sitting at the low end, right? I'm going to say 500 per agent. That's an extra $6,000 per year. In most markets, that is an additional sale a year. So if I said, hey, I'm going to add one sale a year, like it might not seem super exciting at first, but then you might go, well, dang, like I just did what I normally do, and I ended up adding 12 agents, and here I am with an extra transaction for the year. If you got that momentum, the likelihood is that those 12 agents are probably going to bring on an agent or two in that time. So I mean, you could be up to 16, 18, 24 agents in that 12 months as well, as your goal is just 12, which could potentially double what you're bringing in, and that would be an additional 2 homes, right? So you're selling an additional 2 homes a year without selling an additional 2 homes. So the point being is that in order to have that happen, you want to have something that duplicates, right? To say, hey, I'm going to identify this. So right now I'm actually looking for 20 agents for that exact thing. 20 agents that I want to take them to their first 12. And it might not sound like a lot to you. Maybe you have ideas of going way beyond that in the first 12 months. If that's the case, let's talk, because I can tailor it to that. But I'm looking for 20 agents right now that are interested in adding 12 agents in their downline over the next year. And again, if they want to go beyond that, I'm more than happy to do that as well. It would just adjust the time a little bit that you're spent on doing these things. So that's what I'm in the middle of creating right now. The challenge though is, one, I can identify the person that I think, because this is what you'll find. You'll find that some of the best recruiters and attractors that end up in your organization, you never would have thought of it. And then some of the ones that struggle the most are the people that you thought would be absolutely amazing. And that's the absolute truth. It will happen that way. So step one is to identify. Okay, I'm identifying who is this here? Who do I want and think that would want this? But then step two, you have to find out, is it something that they would want? And step three, are they going to take these procedures and these steps? Are they going to follow it to the T? So it's a little bit more difficult than it does sound, but with duplication, you will grow exponentially. Because like I said, the goal is 2, right? One is that it's getting people to get people faster, is to get people to their goal quickly. But then on top of that, they're going to be able to teach somebody else to do that, right? So now they're going to grow. You're going to help them grow, which is going to help you grow. Then they're going to help someone else grow. That's going to help them grow. That's also going to help you grow. So that's where the exponential growth really happens, is when you give somebody the ability to do something that is duplicatable, not starting from scratch every single time, and not doing one-to-one communication. One-to-one communication, like, it's a fool's errand to try and, let's say, my goal is to get to 600 plus. It's actually much further than that, but for the sake of me leaving one brokerage, going to another, and replicating that, I know that there's probably a handful of people who've ever had an organization of 600 at a real estate company and then moved on and did it again. But it's a fool's errand to think that I'm going to go get all 600 myself. That's not how it's going to happen. I'm going to have generals out there that are going to bring on, I'm going to have some people out there in that 600. I'm going to have people that have a couple hundred under them. And then I'm going to have people that have 0 under them. That's just kind of the way that it shakes out. But I do know that if I have something duplicatable, it will not only help me get to my goals, but it will help all these agents get to their goals and give them the ability to help other agents in that way. And so like ultimately, like if I wanted to get to 2,000 agents, if I broke it down to say, okay, can I find 20 agents that we can get to 100, or 100 agents that can get to 20? That's much easier chunking it down like that. But right now I'm just looking for those 20 that are looking for their first 12 and trying to get, or an additional 12 to get them going. So anyways, I will put the link to Brian Carruther's book, Building Empire, in the notes, and so you guys can go check it out. Definitely recommend it. If you're doing anything in agent attraction, 100%, I would watch it. So, all right, I'll see you on the next one. Have a great one.